5, 4, 3, 2.
What's up, race fans? What's up, everybody? It is Competition Plus Power Hour. It is Tuesday night. Let's get it started. I am one of your hosts, Slam and Sam. We are going to be yakking it up, everything racing. So much to talk about, so much to meander and negotiate about, whatever you want to say. But I'm not the only one that's on this show here tonight. I've got my main man, my partner in crime, and here he is, without further ado, the Monday Morning Racer, Lee Crab.
Yo, Sam, how's it going? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Lee.
Awesome, great. Okay, I thought we might have some technical difficulties, but here we are, Competition Plus Power Hour. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that like button, hit that share button elsewhere. Oh, man, look, hey, you're wearing the PDRA hat. They had a great weekend there.
I got to represent.
I'm wearing Cajun Nationals from the Chaos Cajun Nationals there with Funny Car Chaos. What a great time it was down there in Cajun country. Got a little NHRA Carolina Nationals too. There's plenty to talk there. What a great weekend of drag racing we just had. There's too much going on, way too much.
I wouldn't say there's too much going on, Lee. I mean, we're used to it at the beginning of the year. You know, that's how it kind of kicks it off. You have a couple of NHRA events, you have some Funny Car Chaos. And then after that, I mean, everything pretty much kicks off. And that's the good thing about the beginning of the year. You know, everyone's amped up. Everyone's ready to go. Unfortunately, if you live like I do, you're staring outside of your window like I'm doing right now in my office. And we're dealing with a blizzard. I mean, they're talking almost upwards of 31 inches in some places that we can get of snow in the next 24 hours. So, I mean, I would love to be in one of these places where it's nice and warm and we can kick it off and we can have some racing. But for right now, we're bundled up. We're bringing the snow blowers out, and that's just the way it is. But, I mean, like you said, there's so much happened. Where do we want to start yakking it up? First of all, we want to say thank you to the boss man, Mr. Bobby Bennett, for letting us come on here and yak it up. To you guys, Drag Racing Central, Mike, Randy, for you guys that tune in week and week out, you know, that listen to us, you guys on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever else you may be listening. Thank you guys so much.
Definitely. And on Bobby Bennett, he will not be on tonight as our insider, but we do have a great piece done by Darren Williams Jr., American Hot Rod Entertainment, that reminds us of some yesterdays at Houston Raceway Park, and in particular, a late great Funny Car and Top Fuel driver.
I don't know how well I'm going to do with this show. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Being a Houston kid, raised in Southern California, but being a Houston kid, I don't know really how well I'm going to do with this. I mean, it hurts. It's painful. So I think I should just say this right now. I'm going to forgo my opportunities of going to Houston because I'm not ready to say goodbye yet.
I understand, man. You know, I lost Atlanta, Dragway. It's gone. And I haven't even been able to take that turn off the exit as many times as I have gone by it, going west now to cover drag racing. I just haven't had the gumption to go by and just see what's there, if anything is still there or not. It is sad to hear of the premier facilities that we're losing. Granted, it's not all doom and gloom out there in the world of drag racing. We do hear reports of other facilities popping up and improving. For example, there's a facility that's going to be in the Panhandle of Florida that is going to be nice. And then there is also there's also improvements being made to Tucson, like we had with the chat with Jim last week. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, we can sit here and complain as much as we want to and be disappointed and be sad. But I mean, we're seeing it, right? We're seeing these tracks being bought in areas that are being developed. And
Right.
you go one year and you're like, man, there's nothing around this track for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden fast food restaurants start popping up. And then you start seeing, the big fitness centers or whatnot. And now you're seeing these homes. So I think now, looking forward, we need to figure out how to get places that are gonna be annexed and gonna be secluded away. Like perfect example, we just left Vegas. It's very close to the runway of the Air Force Base, but yet you still have that opportunity where no one else is building out there, and if it is, it's going to be industrial. So I mean, I think we just need to take a step back and realize that yes, we're losing a couple of tracks this year, but I think what's going to be brought up in the future is going to be for the best.
For sure, man. But it's going to be an interesting conversation with Mr. Angel. But he's not the only guest we have tonight. We have that Guido guy on.
Yeah, we do. I mean, congratulations to them. We're going to, dive into a little first win as I don't want to really say a first win, but dive into a win that may mean a little bit more.
Sure. For sure. I'm sure it had to mean more for Caps, and it did. In his press conference after the win, it came out that it did mean more. It seemed like winning for the first time all over again when doing it as he's done it as just a driver his whole career, and there he is now, driver, owner, and he picks up the Wally. So that was cool to see. Definitely cool that we've got the opportunity to hear it from the crew chief side of things. I'm looking forward to that because so often I don't think we get to hear their side. We only hear the driver side. I love hearing from crew chiefs. I love hearing from car chiefs. I love hearing from crew members because they win just as much as the driver because it is a team sport. Some people want to fuss that this isn't a team sport. No, it is, because you got crew that gets that car prepared and ready to go, and a driver takes it out on the track, puts it in the beams, but it's not going anywhere but by someone turning a wrench and knowing how to do that.
Oh, for sure. I think I can honestly say there's a lot of crew chiefs that are the younger crew chiefs that are overlooked because we have a very good foundation of crew chiefs that are still available. But you read all the time, what are we going to do for the next generation? How are we building the next generation? So I mean, it's just like a platform like this. What are we doing for the next generation of media? Obviously, Bobby is choosing to let us express our opinions and hopefully we further grow in this. And that's what it's all about. So as we, continue to see things and continue to thrive, I just continue to hope that we start seeing these younger guys and girls. I honestly would like to see that. Can you imagine Camry Caruso or Erica? I mean, just saying, getting a female crew chief, like what would something like that mean?
That would be wow.
Like that's huge history.
So it's not unheard of in drag racing. Women have led the way in so many facets. And when I think of lady crew chiefs, like the only one that comes to mind is really Kim LaHaye. That's the only one that I can think of. I'm not going to go so far to say that she was the only one. Miss Glidden played a role in the team, but maybe not necessarily the nuts and the bolts of things, but she was like a team manager. You do also have Miss Schumacher in a leading role now with DSR, but wow, in the pro stock ranks, that would be interesting. Like later on in her career, maybe Erica's not driving, I dare say, and she is actually tuning on one of those hot rods. That would be interesting. That would be fascinating.
I mean, the knowledge is there, and they're growing. Elite is growing that platform, and we've talked to Richard and Erica. They're growing that platform to where it continues to grow itself within. They're letting people in and letting them thrive. I mean, we've seen it a lot lately with just things that are going on. So, I mean, to have someone come in as a full crew chief as a female, I think that would shake a lot of things up. It would turn heads for sure because I mean it's not I will quote unquote it's not the norm of this sport, but what is normal?
Nothing is normal in this sport. Drag racing.
Other than us staying on our side.
Yes,
Like
we got to be on the right side.
Not,
We've got to be on the right
normal.
side for sure, man. And by the way, I know you're moving, but you got to get something on your wall. Look at you. You all naked back there,
dude. If I turn this camera around, Lee, everything that I could possibly put on my wall is literally laying on the ground right now. Like
mine's growing. Look at this.
Lee, I don't want to say I guarantee you by next week I will have, because I don't even know if this is where I'm going to keep my desk. Like I just threw my desk in here and was like, fine, this sounds good, because I kind of want a TV, but the door is like right there. Then I got a window over there, another wall here. I don't know. Like I need an interior decorator or something to come and help me out. Like it's bad. Okay.
Hey, I've got something to show you now. Don't wig out, but right over my shoulder, your old buddy Frank Holly. I found an old hero card
I'm
at
gone.
Las Vegas, original in the Miller Genuine Draft box.
No, hey, take me off of the screen. I can't do this. This is too much pressure. I can't do it, Lee. I'm serious. I'm gonna need. I need at least like a 10-second break so I can compose myself after you saying that name on this show.
Hey, we are going to have some great guests tonight, but look, again, great drag racing this weekend. Let's take some time, break down some of the events before we actually do bring up the American Hot Rod Entertainment Darren Williams Jr. feature here on Competition Plus, brought to you by Weldon High Performance, in particular their pumps. PDRA. Sounds like they had a stellar opening event there at Galot Motorsports Park, and some.
Do we want to talk about the good or bad?
You know, didn't expect to hear those names pick up a win, but they get it done.
Do you want to talk about the good or the bad?
We're going to talk about it all, good, bad, and even ugly, if there was.
Like Wes Stefano not, qualifying 20 cars and he qualifies 19.
That's right. Yes, his first. I don't know about first, but definitely he stepped up, if you will. Even though 632 is stacked with stellar competition, but the two-time that I know of, a back-to-back 632 champion, Wes Stefano, steps into Pro Nitrous and does not qualify for the first event. I'm not shocked. Pro Nitrous, they some of the baddest nitrous dudes on the planet.
Dude, Pro Nitrous, aka in the media room, Pro Nitrous. But Pro Nitrous is shout outs to Nate Van Wagenen for that one. But man, this is what, look, if we had to wrap up right now and say PDRA period, some of the baddest, I can't say the word, but you guys know what goes after baddest, MOs, out there. Like, I mean, these guys and girls are driving. To talk even more, Jim Halsey was the man out in E1. Like, what? This guy was unbeatable. It was Jim Halsey and the rest of the class. Now this year he's out E1. Like, that just shows you how many people are stepping their game up.
Definitely, man. It seems strange to say Jim Halsey out round one, but it happened. And remember, another big name, maybe not regularly big name in the PDRA, but big name overall in Door Slammer world, went out first round as well. And that is Mr. Gapplebees himself got left.
Yep. That's all I'm going to say. Yep.
Yes. But hey,
let's see.
Kudos to Stevie for showing up and running PDRA. I think that says a lot about PDRA as an organization, and I think that says a lot about just who Stevie is. He wants to go race, and that was cool to see.
No, and I mean, and this is not a comparison at all, but you have to look at it just like this. Some guys are going to go and race PDRA, and some guys are going to go and race, grudge racing. Look at perfect example is look at what Lyle Barnett is. And actually, I had a conversation with Lyle because as I forgo my chances of going to Houston, I am now going to ZMAX, which means I will see the 4 wide with my beloved class Pro Mod. And we're going to have fun. So all you guys, yes, I'm going to go to that. But all right, this is a section that we should call turn of events. I'm giving us a new little name right here, right? Jim Halsey goes out first round. Wes Stefano does not qualify, right? Then you go to Extreme Pro Stock. You have JR Card leading the field with a 401 at 179, pretty much at 180 mile an hour. Then you have Dylan Voss stepping up from Pro 632 and going to Extreme Pro Stock. So, I mean, the turn of events, but the aha moment of PDRA goes to the woman of the class, Miss Melanie Salemi. Wow. Way to put on a clinic, an absolute clinic on first race. So, she's been doing her homework. And
there was a period last year, it was, all right, we know that team has more performance than what they're showing. Where is it? And they would bring out Purple Rain. Then they would bring out Side Piece. And you didn't really know which car was coming out of the box. But whatever they found to pick up the Snowbird Nationals win is it. And they definitely have a stout side piece at the moment. But I would also say Pro Boost, I mean, Tutterow, no shock there. Tutterow can jump up and get any and every weekend, no matter where he enters. One of the great Pro Mod drivers, King Tut, he gets it done. Powers, he gets it done as well. Wow, it was so good to see so many new and fresh Extreme Pro Stock cars out there. What a strong class I think it's going to be this year.
Is it Extreme Pro Stock or is it real Pro Stock?
It's Mountain Motor. No, to answer Drag Racing Central's question, it is actually Pro Outlaw 632. It's a mouthful, but it is that.
What Lee said. Not getting into the name. Lee said.
It's kind of strange to say Pro Outlaw though. Like
it's an
oxymoron.
Yeah.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah. It seems almost like an
double
oxymoron.
conundrum. Yeah. Right? This is true. I said, I spoke with Lyle Barnett last night while walking through the store. And yes, I mean, beer money is not I wouldn't even say it's beer money. When you're talking Lyle Barnett, the guy is a hell of a driver. I mean, whether you like it, whether you respect it or not, he got into the truck, he drove the doors off of that truck. Yep. Lyle is a competitor, and his game and his sport is racing cars. I mean, if you give the guy, honestly, he's the kind of wheelman right up there with Stevie. I think if you give them a NASCAR and say, hey, here's 2 weeks to practice.
Sam, you take the screen. I'll be back, okay?
But if you give him 2 weeks to practice, I think, they're going to do great things. It's just like some of these drivers that we have now. I mean, you look at them and they can drive. They can pretty much wheel anything. So I wouldn't say it's people are scared of beer money. Yes, that car is set up. It's ready to go. But, I mean, it is the driver 100%. Let's see. We're going to keep answering questions. Hey, everybody, let's take a second right now. If you have not done already, please like, share, subscribe. Let's get these views up. And let's continue to get the word out to everyone about the Power Hour. This is episode number 72, and we're rocking and rolling. Yes, Professional Outlaw 632. It's a mouthful, but we can do it. Also this weekend was Woodstock, a great showing out there in Woodstock. It looks like everyone had a good time, a fun time. So, I mean, like I said, this early part of this race season is heavy on different races. You have Funny Car Chaos going on. You have different races with NHRA traveling through their circuit, the Camping World circuit, and then PDRA kicking off and just putting on an absolute tear and an absolute show for everyone out there. I do want to pose this question as I bring back. Oh, there he is. I was going to bring him back here slowly.
Sam, I hate to interrupt. I got to stop you. But in honor of the win that Lyle picked up again, to my beard buddy, this Yingling in my Funny Car Chaos glass is for you.
Oh, man. Hey, he told me I'm not drinking that. I'm actually drinking Red Bull and water and maybe a little body armor. But Lyle did tell me we will be drinking some Yingling beer. He said, don't worry, buddy. When you come to my trailer, I'll have my phone out because the world needs to see you enjoy. But they don't have it anywhere else but the East Coast. So to shout out to Yingling, you need to sponsor Lyle Barnett. It needs to happen. Like this year, we need to see that beautiful pro mod draft in Yingling.
Yes.
Lee, as we continue to go down this show right now, I want to pose a question to you. What is the best NHRA class that we have right now? If you have to pick, I know I'm putting you on the spot. What is the best NHRA class that we have right now? Right? What is the best class?
Like, we're not talking historically. We're not talking overall. No. Like, right now, today, at the moment, after I've had a sip of Yingling, now.
Yes. No other class. No years. We're talking performances this year. Drivers this year. Says
Top Fuel. As of now. Now, Top Fuel.
Yes. How, Lee? How?
How not?
How?
How not?
I want to know. Are you serious? Maybe I'm biased. I may be biased. And I sit in a Top Fuel pit most of the, and I do video for, no, Lee, I disagree. Here we go. This is a part of the show. The turn of events right here. Let's go.
Man, how can you not say that the best class right now, 4 different winners, like hadn't even had a double back-to-back finalist or anything, and the points leader hadn't even won a race? How? What?
Yeah, you see how you're on that throttle? What? You sound like you're in a burnout. Hands down, after leaving Vegas, you cannot tell me that Pro Stock did not put on the best show. Hands down. Sway.
I'm sorry, you've already had a repeat winner in Erica Ender. She's having a better year than she might think. She's doing pretty good. And yeah, there's been some records, but the competition right now is the best it's ever been in Top Fuel. We might be seeing some of the best days that Top Fuel has ever had since its heydays. And you want to come at me with Pro Stock is the best class right now?
How many double O's reaction times have we seen in Top Fuel compared to Pro Stock?
Oh my!
How many guys?
Wait!
Double
O's in Top Fuel. That's a guess. You guessed and missed a red line. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
No. How many look at the close races that we've had. Yes, I get it. Top Fuel has had many different, but look at the racing that we've seen out of Pro Stock. We've seen, yes, Steve has not won. I get it. Look, everybody's gonna say that. Steve hasn't won yet.
Look,
I get it.
I'll tell you one reason why Top feels so great right now. Here's one reason why Top feels so great right now. Like we expect Erica to win, and she ought to win. She is one of the best ever to step in a door car and slam gears, dump the clutch. But no, Sam, shut up, Sam.
No,
listen to me. Listen to me.
Lee.
Yes, look, no.
Lee,
Look,
Lee,
Top fuel
Lee.
right now. You have one of the youngest guys in the sport win. You have one of the unknowns in Trip Tatum win with a finalist in Doug Foley as well. Independent guys out there getting it done. You've got Brittany Force, one of the most popular winning out there, and you got Mike Salinas as well. I mean, you got all different types of representation and competition. Yeah, no.
Lee, look at this.
For the win.
We're making excuses now. This is how bad it's getting, Lee. An 030 is pretty much a 00 in Top Fuel. No, it's not. Here it is. Maybe I don't know. Scott's calling me out. I'm not. I apologize for that. Okay, and there's nothing against Brittany. I think she's a hell of a driver. I drink more Monster than I think pretty much anyone that's out there. So what do you mean? I honestly believe.
Sam.
See, be quiet. I like this guy. No 485. I like him. He wins. I honestly do. Lee, you cannot tell me when Erica pulled up to the lane in the final, right? You had Dallas Glenn next to her. You had the Quadra brother next to her, who has already put her on the trailer multiple times. Gainesville, and he did it in Orlando. He's not to be taken lightly. Neither of them are. We are seeing more consistent runs and more consistent passes from Pro Stock than we are blowing the tires in Top Fuel. I'm just saying.
Blowing the tires in Top Fuel. Have you been watching the races this year? Or have you turned a blind eye? There's been some consistent races out of Top Fuel and close races. Some of the closest we've ever seen.
I'm not saying that there hasn't, but I'm just saying, hands down, Pro Stock has put on a damn show.
I do not disagree, but it's a fine line to classify the best right now. I love what Pro Stock is doing. Pro Stock Motorcycle. It's been interesting just the one show they've had. It's been cool. I think right now we've got some of the best drag racing the NHRA camping world has seen, period. And that is good. But yes, Top Fuel, best right now. Top.
Here we go. Now we're really diving into it, Lee. So Sam, why are Top Fuel drags?
Top alcohol. Look, I don't understand when that whole split became.
That's not a me question.
Professional. Yeah. I don't know, because you look back in the day, and it was like A class and B class and C class all the way to Z class. Everybody was kind of a professional drag racer. They were all considered maybe different speeds in different classes, but there was a sense of professionalism with each person there. I don't know when this whole sportsman thing come up. You know, we might need to have on the show one day Don O'Neill and talk to him about his feelings on being called sportsman and get the insider scoop on that. But no, I mean, look, right now, the fastest and the quickest cars out there in the quarter mile, you're talking about, well, an A-Fuel dragster, alcohol dragster, and alcohol funny car.
I agree with this. Sorry, I'm reading comments. Sean actually explains it. I can agree with exactly what he's saying. I think we all expect type racing from Pro Stock, but to see what's happening in Top Fuel is pretty special.
It is.
It is. But maybe I'm biased, okay? I don't know. I'm a dork. In fact, this is all great. There you go. There.
Hey, we're all winning. If you're like, oh, Pro Stock's the best right now, we're still winning. If you're like Top Fuel's the best right now, we're still winning. I mean, heck, Funny Car has been amazing. It's still been great. Pro Stock Motorcycle's been great. It's all been stellar. If you're a drag racing fan out there and you're like, oh, the racing sucks, like, are you really a fan? Like, get out of here with that if you're saying that.
No.
I just don't understand it.
Uh-oh. We're getting schooled right now, Lee. Here we go. No, it's called Top Fuel.
Okay.
Guys, we're done playing the name game, okay? Not an elite motorsports fan. See, this guy even says it. He's not. And that's the thing. Everyone is saying, well, Pro Stock is KB and elite. Yes, we get that. But Top Fuel is DSR. It has been that way for a long. It's DSR and it's Force Racing. And it's been that way for a very long time. Now we're starting to see everyone branch out. So I get it, but
yes. Look, man, we can carry on this debate. I think it's a great debate to have. And that's someone to definitely listen to. That's the PDRA winner in Extreme Pro Stock. Congratulations, Chris. Pro Stock has too many team cars. It is fascinating how we used to complain about the big super teams in Nitro, yet I don't hardly ever hear anybody complaining about it in Pro Stock.
It's not a problem. No, it's never been a problem in Pro Stock. But Top Fuel, we will sit there and yell and scream and kick because someone took our favorite toy and Snicker bar from us. But and that's where the divide is, Lee. I think some of us are so hardcore Top Fuel some days, and some are so hard Pro Stock some days. And me, I'm a mix of both. It just depends on, I guess, what mood I'm in or what I like that day. But I'm going to say right now, hands down, Pro Stock's putting on the best show. And if you don't like it, that's fine.
Well, but I'm going to say right now, hands down, Top Fuel is putting on the best show at the moment. But talking about show, we do have in the green room Mr. Seth Angel. We got to bring him on in just a few moments. And how about we do that after the Darren Williams Jr. featurette mentioning Houston Raceway and a late great Funny Car and Top Fuel competitor. How about that, Sam?
I like that, Lee.
Two-time NHRA World Champion Scott Coletta is one of only 17 drivers to have won in both NHRA Nitro classes, Top Fuel Funny Car. But heading into the 1989 season, the young Coletta has still yet to capture that elusive first NHRA National win. However, at the second race of the 89 season held at Houston Raceway Park, the Fram Super Nationals, that would all change. What's up, drag racing fans? And welcome back to another special throwback feature brought to you by Competition Plus. Still hobbled from a broken leg due to a skiing accident just a few weeks prior, Scott Coletta would literally limp his way to the final round that day in Houston, putting together subpar victories over Tom Hoover in round number 2 and Art Hindi in the semifinals. In the final round, it seemed like Coletta's day was sure to come to an end, as he'll be outmatched against the mighty Bruce Larson. However, Coletta will put on a masterful driving job for the ages in the final round to score his first ever career NHRA National win.
Coletta out near the guardrail. Larson ahead and problems for Larson. Coletta in the upset of the day wins his first ever national title.
You got so close to the wall. Did you think about just throwing in the towel?
I could still see where I was.
Your first win.
These guys are going nuts. Houston ain't ready for us tonight. I can't wait.
It will be party time in Houston, I assure you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is another special throwback feature brought to you by Competition Plus.
Oh, man, the late, great Scott Coletta picking up his first win there at Houston Raceway Park. Let's bring on Mr. Houston Raceway Park himself, we can say, Seth Angel, to the show. Mr. Angel, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Great to be on, and just a pleasure to speak with you guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being on.
So we have to ask the dreaded question right away. What is your favorite class? Who's putting on the best show for you right now?
Well, I got to be honest here, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. For me, it's always been from my first day at Houston Raceway Park when I was a kid, going out there with my dad till to this very day. The thing that most excites me is Top Fuel and Top Fuel Funny Car. Period. End of story.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'll give it to you guys this week.
Well, first, let me ask you. We just showed that clip with Scott Coletta winning his first national event. Do you happen to remember that? Were you around? You remember those days? Was family involved? I mean,
yeah, of course. Our family has been involved from day one. Ourselves, along with the Gay family, dreamed up the visions of Houston Raceway Park back in the late '80s, and we opened the doors in the fall of 1988. And this year we'll celebrate our 35th anniversary event. But yeah, as a kid, I remember those days and remember those and seeing, the Scott Colettas and the Eddie Hills of the world, traverse down our racetrack and set these great milestones. And yeah, so these memories and milestones of the Houston Raceway Park are certainly things that are ingrained in my mind and things that I'll never forget. But yeah, no, those are legendary moments for our sport, not only for the NHRA, but just for the history of Houston Raceway Park.
And when you look at the history of Houston, and now looking at what is in front of us, you see where you've been and where now we're looking at. What was that defining moment for you guys to be like, you know what, we've actually done what we've accomplished, even though now we're looking at our last NHRA event there?
Great question. I'll kind of break it down like this. We as a family never said we want to exit the sport. That was never kind of our plan. What happened is that we found ourselves in a situation where we sat on a piece of real estate that was in an area that was growing in an industrial world, and we just found ourselves where we had to make a decision as a family. What's the next step for us? And we decided that, look, we've got 3.5 decades, 35 years of the history of the sport under our belts, and we've accomplished so much and done so many things, and we felt like for us that while we didn't want to leave the sport, we just kind of really found ourselves at a crossroads where we as a family had to make a decision on what was our next step, and ultimately we decided to sell that piece of real estate, and that's where we're kind of at. For us, we felt like we had had this great responsibility of taking the sport and leading the sport, and and hopefully over the course of 3.5 decades, we are leaving the sport at a better place than when we took over. And we think that we've done a lot of great things for the sport, been a lot of the great milestones in history of the sport that'll go down forever. But for us, we just, this was one of those situations where we sold the real estate just because for the family it's just a better situation long term for us. And so we love the sport. We had great memories, and we have great relationships with everybody in the sport, from Wally Parks when we first started talking about running NHRA drag races in Houston, to the current leadership group, to the teams, the sponsors, to our fans. And we don't want them to think that we abandoned them, because that's certainly not what we did. It's just part of the process of the evolution of life and kind of where we found ourselves. And so while this may be the last NHRA Spring Nationals, we hopefully we'll think we'll hope that our fans will remember everything that we've done for the sport, and when the next 2 weeks will certainly be interesting for us, because it's it is the end of NHRA drag racing in Houston, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of memories and history and milestones that hopefully will live on for a lifetime.
So obviously we're going to have a chat tonight that is heavily NHRA, but most of the time I have found that any time you have a facility, they say, as in your name, Houston Raceway Park or Motorsports Park, it means more to car culture than just drag racing. So what were some other elements within car culture and motorsports that Houston Raceway Park was delivering offering for the community?
Yeah, so I think our legacy business has been and has always been getting street racers off the streets and putting them onto the racetrack into a safe and controlled environment. That's been our mission from day one, and it continues to be our mission today. And I think as that has evolved, I think the most obvious answer to your question is Texas 2K. Texas 2K for us is a streetcar centric event that has literally exploded onto the scenes over the last, let's say, 7 to 8 years. And it has just kind of transformed and created this new culture of car enthusiasts. Not so much NHRA, because, when you think of drag racing, most people, when you think of NHRA, it's a very small kind of, piece of the drag racing world when you look at the big picture. When you look at drag racing in general, for me, at least from my seat, and from what we see in Houston, there is a bigger piece of pie of fans and enthusiasts and car culturists that love these streetcar events, that are when you see a car on the racetrack, that person relates to that car, because why? Because they can buy that car. They can go buy it off the showroom floor. They can go buy it third hand from somebody, and they can go, modify it, upgrade it, add things to it, and make it run faster than what it currently does, relatively inexpensively, and go and compete. And so when you look at NHRA drag racing, when you have these purpose-built race cars that, for more or less, really don't look like anything you'd buy on the showroom floor. And I would say the same for pro stock. Pro stock cars, to me, are incredible in their engineering and what they can do on track. But when you look at them at face value, they don't. What I think is missing with them specifically is that they don't relate to the common core fan that is looking at them for what they are. And what is that car? Where can I get that car? Can I buy that car? Can I drive that car? And they can't. And so I think I think that's what's kind of missing, and that's a kind of missing link. And so what's so popular about these streetcar events and Texas 2K is that these cars are cars that are you recognize, you see on the streets every day, whether you're going to work or coming home from work, and they're relatable. And so that's a big piece of what has made our streetcar scene in Houston and the streetcar scene at Houston Raceway Park so popular, and which is what has made Texas 2K one of the biggest streetcar centric events in the country.
Are the walls fixed yet, though? That's what we really want to know.
Yeah. So the short answer.
Wow, Lee.
The short answer to the question is yes. And so literally today we started. Look, you got to understand, our facility and the walls specifically are not new. They were installed. Well before me. I'm 17 years in at Houston Raceway Park. The facility's 35 years in. Some of the walls obviously have been there before I am, and so they're old. And so what people don't realize is that, when you have like an NHRA national event or an NHRA divisional, which we just hosted this past weekend, come through town, the cars that are racing on track are purpose-built tube chassis race cars. They're not heavy relatively to other cars. And when you look at like TX2K style cars, Nissan GTRs, these Cadillac CTSVs, which are big bodied cars that are heavy, 3,500, 4,000 pounds. When they hit the wall, they certainly feel it. And so for us, we've had some situations where some cars hit the wall and then push the wall out, and we've had to repair it. And so just this past week, I think we finished it today. We started installing some support beams to help kind of support the existing wall infrastructure because, it is old. It's certainly not new. And so, look, for us, safety is a number one priority, and we will not, we'll not take a backseat to safety at any cost. And so, we've been supporting those walls and adding some infrastructure and some meat to those to hold them up so that they don't fall down, and they do hold up when somebody hits them. But these street cars are heavier. They're hitting the walls harder and faster than they ever have, and when they do, you certainly see it, as I'm sure you guys have seen on social media.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the guys that I work with in my 9-to-5 job, I would say he was watching it the whole time, and you'd be doing something, then you hear, "Oh man," and it's like walk over, and it's like, "Oh," but you said something there that's very, very important, and I think a lot of people, even myself, as I sell race car parts, but you said safety is the number one thing. And a lot of these younger guys and girls, they're going out and they want to buy these fast cars. They want to get the newest, Camaro or Corvette or whatever it may be, but they don't realize that adding all this horsepower can be good, but you have to still protect yourself. And I think by you saying that just shows what, your family and what you guys stood for and what you guys continue to stand for is that you want to take people off the street so they can have a fun and safe atmosphere to do it. But then even when you step foot into our facility, we still want you to continue to be safe.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the biggest testimony is that if you looked at our Texas 2K event last month, there was an incredible amount of carnage on track. Not only the cars just hitting the wall, but just oil downs, people taking their cars to the absolute limit and to the edge. And at the end of the day, we at the end of the event, we were very fortunate that no one was seriously hurt, seriously injured. And, all that was because of the safety components and features in these cars and everything we had on track to make sure these guys and gals were safe.
Well, we're looking forward to this last NHRA national event to come up here shortly. What are some things that fans and competitors can be looking forward to as it being the last event that Houston Raceway Park may be putting on that's normal and maybe even unique to this particular event?
Great question. So I think, over the course of the next 10 days, as we get into the final stretch of the event, we're going to be highlighting some of the most iconic moments in the sport that is in the history that's taken place at Houston Raceway Park. You start to see a full court press, if you will, on social media that highlights those iconic moments. Scott Coletta obviously making his first win. You'll see some things on John Force getting his 100th win, national event win at Houston Raceway Park. I think the other day we put out some stuff on Eddie Hill in the inaugural 1988 Fall Nationals and his first win. Erica Enders, the list goes on. So there's a lot of cool things that happen in the sport at Houston Raceway Park. And so I think we'll be highlighting those. And then, literally for us, it's going to be a celebration of 35 years, which is a long time, that will take place over 3 days. And our fans It's going to be, something our fans, when they come in and they get to experience this great sport, this great live entertainment event take place for the final time. I think they're going to leave with the satisfaction that they got to be there and see history be made. And hopefully from my seat that we were delivered the best show we possibly could. So I think there's a lot of historic things and that'll take place, to kind of highlight the history of the sport. But I think, look, there's a lot of great things happening in the sport right now that we'll highlight on with, for instance, Tony Stewart Racing and his 2-car team. And, just a lot of the great things that are happening with Antron Brown and a lot of these, you got this evolution in the sport when you've got a superpower team in Don Schumacher Racing that is kind of, branched out into this, these 2-car teams with, Antron Brown and some partnerships that he has with Justin Ashley, I believe. And look, I think this is all great things for the sport. And look, it's going to be great. Tony Schumacher is going to be here. I was speaking with him the other day. He's excited. And look, it's going to be kind of, just a celebration of 35 years squeezed into 3 days. And oh, by the way, we get to have a drag race at the same time. So, our fans, I will tell you guys, I've been doing this for 17 years. And in my time at the helm of Houston Raceway Park, I have never, ever seen the amount of interest and ticket sales leading into a national event that I've ever seen today. And so I think that all speaks for what we can expect next week. And I think what we can expect is certainly Saturday and Sunday being sellout crowds.
Yeah, I mean, from things that I've talked to, family that's in that area, they've had questions from as soon as they heard, last year that this was going to be the potential last race. And it chokes me up because, like I said, Houston's been my, that was my home track. I think that's one of the first places my uncle took me as my family decided to race a variety of different things over the years. But being that there's a lot of interest in it, and it's gonna be a pretty much a packed house from what I've heard, and speculations from my family out in the Houston area. How does that feel for you guys, knowing that the fans are gonna send Houston out the right way? The drivers have been talking about this and want this, and your family and your crew that works down at the track, you guys want to put on the best show for everyone that's coming out and send everyone out with that memory of Houston the right way.
Well, quite simply, it's going to be a bittersweet moment for us. This has been a very important part of our lives for a very long time. And so naturally, when that comes to a close, that is, that's going to be significant. Emotionally for me, because it's been my livelihood for the last, 16, 17 years. But as a family and as host of this sport and stewards of this sport, our mission, and we've talked about this, and we talk about this a lot, is that, our goal is that hopefully when we leave the sport that we left it in a better spot than when we took it over. And, I think when we first had, my family and my dad and my grandfather first had conversations with Wally Parks back in the late 80s about building a racetrack in Houston. This is, we were fans. We were fans of the sport. We love drag racing, and we turned that, we kind of evolved that interest in the sport into track ownership, and have been running, kind of running it ever since. I think for us, we don't take this lightly. This isn't, while it's a celebration of the sport and over the tenure of Houston Raceway Park, it is the end of an era in drag racing history, and we're aware of that, and we understand that people are, not happy about that, but we get that. But our drive and motivation for the next 10 days is to deliver the most incredible drag racing experience that we possibly can. Come Sunday, final round, we hope that the sport will and our fans will recognize everything we've done for it over the last 35 years.
Well, Seth, as we wind down our time with you, and thank you again for coming on, I've got to ask, as someone who's going to visit Houston Raceway Park for the first time, where do I need to go eat? Where do I need to go experience? What's the track food to have at Houston Raceway Park? Those type of fan information tidbits.
Great question. And you're not the first one to ask me that, but look, we have so many creature comfort foods that when you come to a racetrack, it is you're going to get the full experience. So whether you want the typical popcorn, hot dogs, cotton candy variety, or a hamburger or a chicken burger, our concessions offer a variety of different things to kind of suit your taste. For me, if I was going to be selfish, I would say, we have some of the best funnel cakes in the business. I would encourage you to try those out once you arrive. But look, we've got a great group. I think big picture, our team, there's no I in team. We have a great team of people that run Houston Raceway Park and have ran it for the last 35 years. People don't realize when you talk about a national event and the manpower and what it takes to put that thing on, it's literally hundreds of people that go into putting that together. And it's not only just operationally from on track side, but it's parking, it's staffing, it's ticketing, it's concessions, it's security, it's so many things, and it's a group effort, and we've got a great group of people that help us each and every year, and so come next weekend, over those 3 days, our drive and our mission is going to be to deliver the most incredible fan experience to our loyal fan base that we have ever provided before, so that when we make those final pair of cars go down the track on the 24th of April, they'll never forget it.
I like funnel cakes. What about you, Sam?
I like funnel cakes, but I'm going to tell you my favorite. I like boudin. So wherever you go, Lee, you got to eat some boudin, man. If you don't,
boudin's good.
If you don't, what you do is you get it, you freeze it, and then you bring it to the next race for me, okay? And then I'll eat it. Because I'm just saying, boudin and some greens, man, you can't go wrong. So that's where and then I'd stop at Racing Cane's on my way to the racetrack. In between my aunt's house and the racetrack, there's a Racing Cane's. Pull off the highway, get back on, you pass the big school that looks like a college, but it's a high school, and you keep going down, and then you hit the raceway. I mean, I've got it down to a science, okay? But just saying, boudin and Racing Cane's can't go wrong.
Well, Seth, look, thank you for your time tonight. We're looking forward to being down there at Houston Raceway Park and experience it for the first time, and sadly yet also the last time as an NHRA national event. Anything else you might want to add to the conversation tonight?
No, guys, I appreciate your time, and look, we're our motivation is to deliver 3 great days of championship NHRA drag racing come next weekend, and I know that we're going to deliver the most incredible drag racing experience ever. So we appreciate the time, and we hope to see you guys here and all the fans and your listeners. Come see us and come experience history.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Seth Angel of Houston Raceway Park. Thank you for the time, Mr. Angel. And again, we all look forward to being down there at Houston, those of us can make it. And hey, chime in. Do you plan on making Houston Raceway Park? Chime in. Let us know for the last NHRA national event to be there this year. Let us know if you're going to be there or not. It is sad to see these tracks going away for sure, but we still have a lot of positives in the sport of drag racing, Sam.
Oh, 100%, Lee. And that's what I was just going to say. I mean, yes, it's always sad to say goodbye or maybe see you later, but there's always room for improvement. And as we continue to dive down this road of what's next or what news we're going to get next, we always seem to have some negative, but there always is a sunshine of positivity. And as our good friend Justin Ashley would say, if we rode the waves of this sport, we would damn near kill ourselves. And that, and he said it right away when I saw him in Phoenix. He goes, man, I win Pomona and I come to Phoenix and I'm out first round. I rode that wave. He's like, every day you just got to strive to be better. So, I mean, Seth said it himself. They're going to try and put on the best show that anyone has ever seen as they walk away. And we are going to look at the bright moments and remember Houston in the best way that we possibly can. It's going to be a celebration.
Definitely. Well, look, we're going to take a break and say thanks to Weldon Pumps. But after that, we'll bring on Mr. Dean Antonelli, an individual that's definitely been riding the wave without any wipeouts, tuning that Ron Capps funny car to stellar performances so far and a win here most recently in the 4-wide rendition out there at Las Vegas. So if you need to get things pumping, it's Weldon Pumps. Mr. Antonelli, thank you for coming on the show tonight. How you doing?
Very good. How about you guys?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you. I know it was kind of short notice. We had someone already scheduled, and you were able to step up and be on with us. Thank you very much for that. And congratulations on the win. We got to get this out of the way, though, because I don't know the story. Why Guido?
Lee, you can't steal my question.
Pardon? I just did, Sam, because I have no clue. I want to know.
So it goes back to 94. I started at John Force Racing, and there was another Dean there named Dean Westmoreland. And so every time Austin Coyle would say, hey, Dean, we'd both answer, and it irritated him. So we had a mutual friend, Don Jackson, that I worked with and knew Austin. And so he called Don and asked Don, like, what did Dean have a nickname or anything? And he said, well, we called him Guido here. And that's it. That's where it stuck.
Okay. I could
Simple.
see Austin being a little annoyed. I could see that.
He sometimes would get irritated, yes.
All right, so we have to ask this question. You starting in, working for John. Is there any good John stories that you could tell us?
Oh.
We're always looking for a little juicy bit, and I know with John, there's always something. So, what's one of those moments where you're like, is this guy serious?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of them. Most of them you can't really say on broadcast, but there's a lot of funny little idiosyncrasies that he has. One time, this was probably 97, 98. I had been there 3-4 years, and it was late. We worked a lot of hours back then, and he was aggravated over something. So at the time, we had 2 teams. He had both teams in his office. And it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And so the phone kept ringing because obviously the girl that answered the phones was gone for the day. And he's yelling at us over something he wasn't happy with. And so finally he grabs the phone and he says, John Force. And so he says, who? He doesn't work here anymore. We fired him. and hung up the phone. So he goes on about the meeting and all this stuff. And so after it's all done, everybody's leaving. I said, John, who was that phone call for? And he goes, well, somebody calling asking for Dean. He ain't worked here in over a year. I said, John, that's my name. So it ended up being my son. He was like 8 or 9 years old. And so I called him and he's crying, you got fired. And I'm like, no, it's all okay. So John is not the best with names. He does everything with nicknames. So he remembers people's names by tying it to something.
We know that.
Yes, he does.
Yep. Yep. So, but I mean, there's not a better guy in the sport for our sport. I mean, he's huge heart, loves racing. He made his life in racing. He's our future too. So
Definitely so. Well, with having you on the show the first time, and again, thank you, because the crew chiefs, it's like y'all don't come out of your corner that often and come into the light and get on these things, and it's like, man, we have a crew chief on, so it's good. But man, where'd you get your start? How did the drag racing bug bite you to the point where, man, you're tuning, winning, and doing the championship thing on a nitro burning fuel funny car?
Well, I kind of had like 2 stages in my racing career. So my father raced actually professionally for a little while, drag racing. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. That's where he raced mostly. But in the late 70s, he got together with a gentleman named Jack Ermentrout, who had the Hemi Underglass wheel stander and later the Bandit wheel stander. My dad had the Paddy Wagon wheel stander. And they raced all over the country from like May to September for 3 or 4 years. So I lived in a motorhome with my sister and my mom and my dad, and we went to 65, 70 events a summer. And so that's kind of where I got a lot of my experience. And he had the Nanook AA fuel altered he bought from Dave Huff end of 73, and him and Dave campaigned it to 77. So I got a lot of a race in my background. I was doing bottom end, and I was 12 years old on the fuel altered. So I kind of left the sport about 83 or 84. I got married and had a child and thought I probably ought to grow up and do something that I can make a real living with. And I did that for like 8 years. And then, like I mentioned, the Don Jackson, he was an engineer where I worked, and he got me hooked up with forces. I was going through a divorce, and he told me, your life's already a wreck. You might as well start a job too. And I'm thankful that he talked me into it.
That's awesome. So you took some time away from the sport, and then it brought you back. That's one of those, don't want to call it a comeback story, but it is. And now you're on to what, you're doing now with Ron, and talk about, I guess the change in everything from last year being, under the DSR umbrella, and now you guys are your own, Ron's owning his team. He's an owner and driver. What's the difference there?
So, it ended up being a pretty smooth transition. It came together, pretty late. He kind of decided that he wanted to be a team owner, around Indy time, I think it was. And he had some other opportunities cooking, and Knapp ended up, coming to the table with him and wanting to extend the deal with him. And, it was too late for him to try and get finances together and purchase everything in such a short period of time, because the priority number one for us was we just won the championship. We have to come out swinging. So we didn't want to start from scratch. He wanted to stay with the DSR, performance parts. He wanted to, stay with the same crew, the same, crew chiefs, obviously. So the best opportunity was for him and Don come to agreement and lease the product, the race car and the trailers this year, and allow us to get all feet basically grounded and look at getting finances available to make purchases as we go. So the big thing is for Ron, it's a bigger business opportunity than he's probably ever had. And so he's kind of learning a little bit along the way. Him and Shelly's doing a real good job. And of course, he's got great support. You know, a lot of people from Napa. He's been there so long. There's a lot of independent store owners that are offering him advice for the business end and everything. So for the performance end of it, it's kind of just status quo, keep going as we were and keep finding, you know, hundreds here, thousands there, and pick away, because we were on a pretty good streak last year. So we just need to build a little bit.
Well, Sam asked of the stories concerning John. I'm going to ask the stories concerning Ron. We've got to know. We've had Ron on the show several times. Like Ron, I'm a personal fan of Ron. Been pulling for him for years, and he's gracious enough to every now and then share some of my things. But Ron's an interesting guy. What can you clue us in on, man?
So he's a dream for all of the marketing partners we have. You know, he kills the social media. He asks for more. So that end of it makes it easy, which is sometimes some of the hardest part to get drivers or owners, you know, to participate in that. You know, Ron and I, he was driving, you know, for a top fuel car back in, I don't know, 94 or 5 and stuff. And so we became friends back then. And so he was a crew guy, drove the truck, he drove the car, and was Roger Prim's dragster. And so we got to spend a couple years on the road hanging out before he ended up getting a seat with Prudhomme, you know, in the Copenhagen car. And so back then, you know, it was we were a little bit more free spirited, obviously younger, and so there was a lot of fun nights. You know, Shelly, his wife, would go hang out with us, or we spent a couple weeks in Dallas during some rainouts at 96, I think. And so he's just kind of a real even keel, doesn't seem to get too wound up guy, you know, and he's very focused on what he wants to do.
Unless Selzy is in the picture, apparently.
Selzy has that effect on everybody. So that's the Italian in him, I think.
So for you guys, you know, like you said, you mentioned a little bit ago that you guys won the championship and you guys, you know, had to come out swinging. You guys felt like you had to come out swinging. How did this first one feel? How important was it, and how did it feel?
For Ron, probably more so than any of the rest of us. I mean, he's the one that's got all the risk. So I think he's still pinching himself that, you know, did it really happen? For us, you know, we show up at testing and we had a pretty good test session in Phoenix. We go to Pomona. We end up on the pole in qualifying, and we lose, I don't know, by a foot or something to Robert in the final. I don't know, other than winning, it was a fairy tale start. And then Phoenix, car ran good, but I made a bonehead move, and I think it was second round, and we lost by a foot. And then Gainesville, again, car, you know, nobody really got a shot at the track on qualifying. And Robert, I think, unleashed some 84 or something, but everybody else pretty much struggled. And then we ran real good first round and second round, and then I must have gave myself a little too much testosterone for the semis against Jim Head's car and gave that away. So going into, you know, Vegas and 4 wide, I've been in, I don't know, 4 or 5 of the 4 wide finals and hadn't been able to pull off the big trophy, you know, finish second 3 times or 2 times, and, you know, third or fourth a few times. So just wanted to be really focused. It wasn't to a point where there was pressure about it, but you wanted to get that in the books, you know, that way we can focus on just race and not trying to win, you know, with a cost. So I think still pinching myself, actually. So it's pretty great.
Cool deal, man. Cool deal. I know Ron was ecstatic in the press conference. I was, you know, and I filmed those and put them up on YouTube. And he spoke very highly of yourself. And he mentioned, like, you like to throw down. He said something to that effect. And talk to me about your tuning style. What is it? What is it like? Is it get all you can every time, or is it like, the conditions are this, and I think if we tune this, we're going to come up with it? You know, where do you sit?
Yeah, I kind of like to race the situation, the racetrack first and foremost always. Sometimes you'll see somebody, you know, that maybe they're running, say in top fuel, they're running Scrapper's car or something, and then it's a car that maybe, you know, qualifies in the bottom half a lot. And so they'll drag it up there and try and run a 369 because the conditions for Scrappers is that, but they never run better than 75 or 6. I don't have that approach. Like, we have a lot of great data from previous runs, and we have good track data from, you know, Dave Fletcher, and, you know, John Medlin and myself. I get out there and try and walk. And so you gain a feel on top of the equipment that you use to get the readings on the track. And so all the conditions might say you can run in a funny car, maybe 85 or 86, but something in my feel when I walk it might say, I think there's a little bit more out there, or might say, ooh, man, it's a little edgy at 200 feet. So I'll take the approach and only race the racetrack and not try and run better than I can. You know, if we're running Robert and he's on corked a couple 82s and the best we run was 86, I'm not going to try and put an 82 in it. I'm going to push a little harder. And Ron's a great driver, and he's won us some rounds, and hopefully we can edge him. But I hate giving away a race. When you smoke the tires, you got no chance.
For sure.
No, and I mean, you know, that's the unique thing about the crew chiefs, and that's the side that, you know, Lee had mentioned. We don't get that all the time. You're always wondering, and then as a spectator ourselves of the sport, you're always like, okay, how much information is their track guy really giving them? You know, is the crew chief, when he walks down on that starting line, is he saying, this is what they told me, this is what I think? Do I, you know, set it in the middle, or do I just go with my 100% opinion? Because you see it so many times where, you know, your track guy and you'll come together, you guys can see it on the radio, the communication, and it's like, sometimes you want to just get that information or whatever they're telling you, like how to do this or how to do that. It'd be really cool to try and, you know, gather that information from you guys and just see what the chatter between the track guy and the crew chief is really like.
Right. And that's a great question, because there is a lot of information available, and a lot of the data that we get are from mechanical instruments. And so they only know what they're purposed for, you know. So like, we call them torque meters, right? So it basically is checking the coefficient of the race surface with basically a torque wrench. And so we've learned over time that a 120 degree starting line typically is going to be 670 inch-pounds of torque on our torque meter. But what that instrument doesn't tell you is how much give is in the rubber. So that's where the crew chief gains, you know, the last tidbit of information is when he gets up there and he feels it. And so when you'll see like Alan Johnson, he kind of has a way that he does it. He kind of gets on the balls of his feet and he lifts his left foot and he just kind of quickly twists his foot that he's standing on, and you kind of see what the give is in the rubber. And some guys will drag their foot. I just kind of twist my foot, but overdoing it thousands of times, you gain a knowledge of the surfaces. So even though, say, the torque meter says it's 670 at 120, but we call it greasy. Your foot twists a long ways before it breaks away. That'd be greasy. So I would say, man, yeah, we should be able to run like 92 like this. The book says, all of our data says, but man, when it's just greasy, the best we've ever run is 95. So then maybe I'll pull it back. So that's a great question, because there is more to it than just meets the eye.
Speaking of greasy, John Garrett wants to know, does Ron share the chicken wings with the team, or is that just his deal?
He's kind of a chicken wing hoarder, you know, so he kind of keeps them to himself. However, he's gonna do the deal this Friday. He hasn't told me the place yet, but he invited us to go. So the team's gonna be there this week.
Okay. Boss got to buy. He's got to step up after the win.
Yeah, that's right. And he's going all the way to chicken wings.
That's right.
See, now, see, Lee, there you go. Now you're supposed to ask the question, what kind of chicken wings? Like if no matter what you do with chicken wings, you have to have the lemon pepper. I mean, those are hands down the best one.
I'm a dry rub. I'm a dry rub guy. So lemon pepper kind of falls into the dry rub, right? But I like a little bit spicy. So I like some heat.
Okay. Like some heat.
I don't disagree with you there. All right. So another question coming in from from Mikey. He listens all the time. It says, do you miss Tobler being there and listening to the gangster rap and drinking wine?
So it's great because Tobler's just right down the aisle. Now he's over on Austin Proc's program. And so, yes, last year, Tobler not being in the pits, wine night in his trailer is a monumental evening at every racetrack. And he has great taste of good reds. And also his ability around the race car is great, too. So he's not in our camp, but we're all friends. And it's great to have him back and wine night going again.
So Gators were, unique. Could you, in layman's terms, translate to us just how unique and special the conditions were at the Gator Nationals compared to going to Las Vegas?
Okay, so I have a lot of data. I was blessed and very fortunate to get tutelage under Austin Coyle and Bernie Federley. And so they took me under their wings. And so I have a lot of data, tune-up data and run data going back to the mid-90s. And I went through all the records I could find, and we had never seen conditions atmospherically as good as what Gainesville provided us on Sunday. The charts, everybody has a tune-up formula program that they use. And I don't know of anybody that program went as far as you needed to make your, gasket thickness, which is your compression number, your overdrive number, your fuel curve. So it was the thickest head gaskets I've ever run with the slowest blower I've ever run with the lowest percentage of nitro I've ever run. And then we go a couple weeks later to Las Vegas, which is, physically 2,200 foot elevation. And we have gaskets that were literally 62 thousandths thinner gaskets, thinner gaskets in Las Vegas, which is, when you go to Denver, it's usually only 70,000 compression move. So it was almost like the difference would be going from a normal racetrack like Topeka or something to Denver, only this was Gainesville to Vegas. You almost couldn't comprehend the changes you had to go back to after leaving Gainesville. It was insane.
Wow.
And when you guys are making those decisions and you guys are, looking at the data, and like you said, you've got that notebook and you've got that history of all this data. When you see these changes, are you like, guys, we've never done this before. we're gonna throw the kitchen sink at it, and I'm trying to figure out what's gonna be the best, because right now it's saying we should be in Denver, but we're actually, somewhere else. Or hey, it's saying, that we should be in Pomona right now, but we're actually racing in North Carolina. So, I mean, does that throw a curveball in everything?
Yeah, life is full of emotions. And so it's almost impossible when you have condition changes that much that your emotions don't come in and say, there is no possible way I need to do this. But you have to check yourself and believe that this tune-up formula that, Austin created over decades is a tune-up formula that Medlin and I use. And it's always been right in all the conditions. And so forget what your emotions are, do what it says, and more times than not, it's right on. So
I cannot imagine the pressure of making such changes in such radical changing conditions as was experienced. And with you being in the sport as long as you have, and all the wins and championships, and who you've interacted with, the top names in the sport on the wrench side and holding the wheel side, where do you think we stand when it comes to the whole 1,000-foot racing and the changes for it? Because, man, we've reached a point where it seems like every point that we made the change for, we're back at needing to make a change again. Because we have seen 336, we've seen 338. I was at testing Monday and filmed it, and Robert throws out another 380. They're just throwing out 380s like they're candy. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
yeah.
So is that discussion ramping up again at all amongst tuners and NHRA and drivers and so on?
Well, I mean, you know, that drag race and NHRA purists, you know, want to be quarter mile racing. And I mean, in a perfect world, you would, but these tracks have shut down areas designed for cars that went 200 miles an hour. And not only are these cars considerably faster now, they're heavier. So it's all just simple physics. The faster they go and the heavier they are, the more room you need to stop it. So, yeah, I mean, we're running 335 miles an hour, you know, and, you know, Grubnick, I think Brittany uncorked 338 last week. And mind you, these things have chokes on them. Like NHRA has done things to keep the speeds down, but it's our jobs as the tuners to make them run better. So we are to the point where we're running faster than they were when they were quarter mile. And the only good thing about it is, you know, at 1,000 foot, we have 330 more feet to get them stopped. So I haven't really heard a lot as far as, you know, NHRA wanting to roll us back a little bit. You know, I think as long as the cars don't find some, you know, incredible gain 5 mile an hour or something, I think we're probably okay where we're at. To me, the amazing thing is I think Grubnick, when he went 338 the other night, he went 299 miles an hour to the 8th mile. So he almost went 300 miles an hour at an 8th mile, you know. So these things are just insane. I wouldn't sit in one personally, but
yeah, I'm sure you know it takes a special breed to do the tuning, but I'm sure the tuners are like, yeah, I don't know why y'all get in what I'm tuned in.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, I love doing this, you know, and I've driven some, but not these things. But it's those guys, you know, the guys that are the best at it, they're fearless. That's why they're the best at it. And you know, if you told most of these guys that, you know, I don't know, this might be the last run, you might not come back from it, they would say, all right, well, then make it a good one. That's how most of them are. And that's how you got to be dominant, you know. So they're their own breed, you know. Hats off.
Yes, definitely. So we have a question coming in, and I think this is a really good question. It says, hey, Dean, does a different driver affect the way you tune?
Absolutely. Everything. These things are so sensitive. So it could be from weight affects how the cars respond, how we tune them. As simple as how they use the clutch to back up from the burnout, or, you know, as they're rolling in the stage, if they're somebody that the clutch is out or in, and then there's drivers that kind of feather it to smooth the car, all of that affects how the clutch is going to work. So you have to keep in mind that these things make 11,000 horsepower. They weigh 2,625 pounds, and we adjust the application on the starting line of the clutch with a 5/16 half nut that weighs 3 grams. So 3 grams affects whether it'll smoke the tires or not. And so everything that the driver does affects it. How long the cars run. If, your opponent has an issue and it takes them 15 seconds longer to stage, you burned, a gallon and a half or 2 gallons. So that's 12 pounds missing off the front of the car. So the front's going to be light. So yes, the drivers affect how these things tune. If they were robots, that's the best way. And I've been fortunate to have drivers like that. I mean, Ashley Force, she was a machine. If you went to a track and, some of them are a little bit downhill, some are a little bit uphill, whatever, that affects how you back the car up. So on the first burnout, if she let the clutch out 5 times backing up, every run after that, it'd be 5 times. Jack Beckman was that way. Ron is that way. Ron's a machine. And so I've been very fortunate to have very conscientious drivers to do the same thing.
Boom. That's some good info right there. So
Spilling all the tea.
Yeah, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. Dean, look, thank you for your time. We're going to let you go for the evening. You have a good rest of your evening that you have ahead of you, and look forward to seeing you in Houston. And never know, maybe another Napa win, even there at Houston Raceway Park.
Well, I appreciate being on the show. It was a lot of fun and talking to you guys, and hopefully see a lot of your viewers out at Houston next week, and we'll be striving to win. I can't promise, but we'll be striving.
Tell some of the crew chief buddies to come on. Don't be scared.
I will. Just had a good time.
Lee, I think what we need to do is, now that we know that the crew chiefs like to eat too, we should just do like a crew chief eating social, get some chicken wings, and maybe they'll start liking us and giving us more information.
Maybe.
And most of them like red wine, so wings and wine.
Wings and wine. Yes.
There you go.
I've done that once with Tobler, and it doesn't end well. So
okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
All right, you guys too. Thanks, man.
All right. Well, great conversation with Dean Antonelli there, Guido. Great conversation. Always love having the crew chiefs on. It seems like we don't I would love to have more of them on. I wish we just had like a crew chief roundtable. That'd be pretty cool.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of information at one time there, Lee. And like I said,
look, he mentioned downhill or uphill, and we'll have to explore that later. Another time we have him on, or when I get to the track, ask him. I didn't realize that would be something that would affect it that much, because most of these tracks don't go downhill or uphill that much, but he mentioned it. That's interesting.
No, and that's the stuff that they have to take into consideration. And the question that I asked there of, how much are they talking to their track specialists and how much information are they getting? Just imagine being at the starting line and having that detail. We consistently hear Alan, and we consistently hear, Joe Costella and Brian Loans, but just imagine being able to dive in and hear that interaction and that talk, right before they make those final adjustments. And, and those are the little things that we would like to hear and like to know more about, that I think pushes this sport. It gives us that better look into drag race, and you hear it, you're able to, in NASCAR and F1, you're able to hear what, they're saying in the pits. But now if we can take that and give that information to our race fans and relay that to them, I just think it gives us that other edge. It's like being mic'd up, in football. So maybe that's some things that we look into and we try and do. But, when it all comes down to it, as long as we're continuing to talk, and if the crew chiefs are willing to come on and yak it up with us on a Tuesday night, about what they've got going on, and I think we're continuing to grow the sport and move the needle forward.
Well, look, man, how about we take a break and then we come back, wrap up the show? Because, look, I want to do some talking about the Chaos Cajun Nationals, which was a spectacular inaugural event.
Well, guess I don't really have a choice, because I'm buckled into this show. I got my lunch packed tight. So, Lee, you're calling the shots. So let's go to a break and let's hear about Funny Car and Chaos.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
Dude, Funny car chaos. What Chris Graves, Taylor Graves has been able to build. They brought, listen to this, Sam. There were individuals that work at State Capitol Raceway, there outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that said, that expressed, they had not had a car with 1,000 plus horsepower break the beams of that track in over nearly 15 years. And Chris Graves with Funny Car Chaos brings 16 plus funny cars of modern alcohol variety, nostalgia nitro style, a nitrous assisted funny car, a twin turbo assisted funny car, 2 top fuel dragsters with Mitch King and Dave Gallegos, and also twin jet cars, jet dragsters with the Game Exchange jet dragsters, and put on one heck, all capitalized, of a show there in Cajun country. There was a great crowd on hand, and it was a spectacular inaugural event, and the Cajun peeps are clamoring to get more chaos.
Well, Lee, I've said it once, I've said it twice, so maybe I should just say it 3 times. What Chris Graves is doing is like nothing we've seen in drag racing. Everyone that you talk to that's gone to one of his events, I have not personally experienced one of his events, but when I talk to people about what they've experienced and what they've gone through and what it was like, there is a smile on their face from the time they start talking to the time that they walk away. Chris Graves has tapped into a new treasure in the sport of drag racing. So hats off to you, Chris. Hats off to you, Lee, for being the media guru and the pit reporter of what they're doing. I can't wait for my first Funny Car Chaos event because I am excited to see and experience the hype of what is going on.
So, you know, I have technically at this point been to 4 chaos events, both Funny Car Classics, Nitro Chaos, the inaugural Nitro Chaos at Eddyville Raceway Park, and this Chaos Cajun Nationals. And to be honest with you, it could be stated that my first Chaos race was this past weekend, because the Chaos brand goes to these tracks, goes to these places that have been well overlooked. Most of them are nice facilities. They have great tracks, great surfaces, but they bring a big event to a venue that may not have a big event in a while, or doesn't regularly have a big event, or has been overlooked, as I stated earlier. And Chris Graves and Funny Car Chaos puts on an absolute show with the funny cars, Dirty South Gassers. You do have occasionally bracket programs that are there for the locals, jet cars, top fuel dragsters, match racing at night, header flames up in the air. Not everywhere gets to see that, but Chris is bringing that show to town. And man, where else are you going to see a nitrous-assisted funny car, a twin-turbo funny car, a centrifugal supercharged funny car, with nostalgia funny cars, with modern alcohol funny car? Dude, it has been a blast to go.
It is purely
and get the stories, man.
Lee, it's purely chaos.
Yes, it is. It is.
And that's the beauty about it, Lee, is you're bringing a new show to different people. We're used to seeing the same show. Bring something new, it brings another spectator. That spectator is going to go home and talk to his 5 to 10 friends or her 5 to 10 friends about it. So the next time that they're in town, guess what? They're bringing another 5 to 10 people that usually wouldn't go. Or those 5 to 10 people are now traveling to go and see the show. And I'm saying it, man. This is going to be a series that continues to grow. There's no limits to what he's doing. You have as many fields as you have. You're not limiting people to what others other classes and other sanctioning bodies are doing. And to step out and to have your own boundaries and your own rules, it sets you apart.
It certainly does. It certainly does. And I mean, I can tell you already from talking to Chris and getting to know more about the Chaos brand, there's demand well beyond the Midwest, but it's reached a point of what do we do? How do we expand? And what's the best route to take?
Tell Chris to give me a call. We'll bring him to the great north.
Well, there's demand up there. There's demand out west. There's demand just about everywhere to see the Chaos. And it's a good show, man. It is a good show. And not only is it a good show for the fan, but the racers and the brand of racer that is racing in Funny Car Chaos are just some good, down-to-earth, genuine people who want to race. And they come out, they race, they have a good time, and it is a good time.
It's bringing the vibe of old school racing that you and I grew up seeing and that our folks grew up, watching and being a part of, to this modern, heads-up style of racing, that this new culture. So it's a mix of both, and that's what's so great about it. That's why so many people flock to it and are getting excited about it. So, I mean, like I said, Lee, it's purely chaos. And I got to ask, since you were down in the great Baton Rouge, Louisiana, did you indulge on some good eating?
Oh, I did. I had I had a crawfish pistolotes, or however you say it. I can't remember now. It's like stuffed,
pistolotes.
Stuffed bread. That was good. I had some boudin and some.
You had boudin and didn't tell me?
Yeah, I didn't tell you. Jambalaya with rice and some meat pies and cornbread. Oh yeah, I ate good while I was down there. But I gotta say, Sam, every time I'm in that part of the country, I feel like I'm on that True Detective show, season 1 from HBO. I kind of get the willies every now and then.
Oh man, only you, Lee. But hey, Lee, it's been a great ride. It's been fun yakking it up about drag racing and what our opinion is. I still stand by, I think Pro Stock is the hottest class right now in the market, but it doesn't matter because we can argue till we both turn blue in the face, and I think you might turn blue before I do. But anyway, it's always great because that just means our sport is thriving and growing. If you guys want to check me out, Slam and Sam, I got a Facebook page. You can follow everything I do, just a little bit about me. Outlaw Performance ENT on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please go over and hit the like and the share button. But Lee's going to close it down because you guys are in good hands. Continue to stump that loud pedal. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Competition Plus Power Hour, brought to you by Weldon High Performance. I'm Lee Kraft, the Monday Morning Racer. You can follow me on all the outlets at Monday Morning Racer. And in particular, as you see on the screen over there, at Monmorn Racer, that's the Twitter handle. Look me up. You can follow me there, handing out the Funny Car Chaos information and beyond in the world of motorsports. Thank you to Seth Angel and Dean Antonelli, our guests tonight. And we look forward to seeing you all once again right back here, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, for the Competition Plus Power Hour. Hey, join me on Between the Slicks, my show, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday Morning Racer platform. Don't know who I'll have, but we're going to talk drag racing once again. Until next time, God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.
In the race for quality, there is no finish line. Jerry Bickle Race Cars is a one-stop chassis shop for drag racing performance parts and race components. For over 50 years, Jerry Bickle Race Cars has been an essential part of racers' plans for building world champion race cars. Our parts department is stocked with every part a racer might need. Log on to jerrybickle.com for more information. We build